Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's special IncrediCon, IncrediChat. We got a great guest tonight. If you remember, a couple of years ago, we went down and we covered the MMC 30 reunion at Walt Disney World and MegaCon. And tonight, we are very lucky to have one of the Mouseketeers with us tonight. So without further ado, because we're going to talk about Mickey Mouse Club and other kinds of great stuff, let's welcome to the show, Tasha Danner. Hello, Tasha.
Hello, how are you? I
am doing great. How is everything with you tonight?
Pretty good. It's like I was saying before we got on, it's a little weird out there. For those of you who are on the West Coast, you understand what I mean. Those wildfires are adding to the strangeness of 2020, but we're doing okay. We're safely indoors. So, yeah.
We're persevering. So, yeah, like I said, it's exciting to have you on with us tonight.
Yeah.
First Mouseketeer guest, hopefully. But
many, I hope.
yes. Well, at IncrediCon and our Increditainment, we love the Mouseketeers and we support everything that you guys do. And we were talking about the 30th anniversary party that they had. It's gonna be what, a year and a half ago, almost
a year and a half. Yeah, it was in May of 2019. Yep. So
crazy stuff. So, I guess before we get even into that, let's talk a little bit about you and how you found your way to Disney and the Mickey Mouse Club. What was that like?
That's a long story. No, I was like many of the people on the Mouse Club, child actor, singer, dancer. Been doing it pretty much since I was about 6. I started dancing when I was 4. I started singing when I was about 6 or 7. Started acting kind of in commercials and theater and things of that nature, just locally in Indiana, because I'm from Indiana originally. Mm-hmm. And then I went to New York when I was 12, got an agent, auditioned for things like Annie 2. If you didn't know that was a thing, look it up.
Was that the one that was Annie? I think it was Annie Warbucks. Is that what that one was?
Yeah. It was. I don't think it did very well, to be honest. So maybe I'm glad I didn't get it. But I just kind of fell in love with auditioning and being a part of everything. And I got an agent while I was in New York, and went back to Indiana. And they called me one day and said, "Hey, they're doing auditions in Indianapolis for the club." And I was like, "Sure, I get to sing, I get to dance, I get to do a silly sketch on camera." It was kind of my thing. So I was very excited. And then I got called back and just kind of steamrolled from there. And before I knew it, I was living in Orlando doing an amazing, fun show for getting paid at 13 to sing and dance.
Now, let me ask, because I was just, doing some research, getting ready for this. And again, I grew up watching the Mouse Club, so I know pretty much a lot about what you guys did, but last night I was just going through it, and I was looking at that biography story that they did a few on E, and they were talking about it, and I guess it really is true when you think about it. It was like the American Idol of its time. So what was that audition process like? How many kids were there when you did that?
Oh my God, I wish I had a better memory. I know there were a lot. I know that initial first audition, there were a lot of kids. And it was kind of American Idol, where you're waiting it was like some hotel lobby, like they are, and you're waiting with all these other kids, and it's very nerve-wracking because everyone's practicing their songs and their dances, and and you're all just trying to find your little space and do that. And then you go into the room, and there's a panel of people. It's the casting director and a few other people, and they're just, you're 13, you're sitting there oh my God, they're so judging me right now. And you just have to have fun. So I think that's the thing that is really great about all of us, is that we were able to have fun and not let our nerves get the best of us in those auditions, obviously, because then we got to that next step. And the next step was crazy. They flew us to LA. Which was amazing. And we all were in our Mickey Mouse shirts. And again, knowing that we were sort of we're competing with each other, but also just kids and just having a really good time and just singing and dancing and practicing our songs in front of each other. And I always tease Tony Luca, because he sang Billy Joel's She's Got Away. And I feel like every single woman, I say, we were 12 to 15 in that room, literally fell in love with him as soon as he sang that song. So I always tease him when when he comes to visit or do a show, when we were allowed to do live shows back in the day, he would come to Portland and he'd be like, any requests? And I'd be like, she's got away, Billy Joel. And he always laughs and is like, I don't know if I remember it.
Do you remember what your first song was that you did for the audition?
I think I did Rome, by B-52s, Rome if you want to. And then I did a Bette Midler song, From a Distance, the world looks blue and green. Yeah, so those are my 2 audition songs, which was kind of funny.
Now, so, I mean, you said it was intense. How many kids did they take from, say, each audition, even your audition that went with you out to LA? Do you remember?
Oh, not many. I was the only one from Indianapolis. There were like a couple people from Michigan. So obviously Tony's from Michigan. Do you know who Sutton Foster is?
Broadway.
She was at our callbacks.
Oh,
she
wow.
was at our LA callbacks. There were people from all over, but I would say total at the callbacks, it was probably only about 30 to 40 people, if I remember right. Yeah, so it wasn't that many. So I don't know how many they auditioned in total, but it was, all the cities in the United States, the bigger cities. And of those, only 40 got called back and got sent to LA for the kind of audition camp, I call it.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
About how long did that camp run? And I mean, there were 40 kids there. I mean, like you said, there was camaraderie, but probably that little bit of like, I want that part. Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for the most part, most of us were pretty friendly. There was no like weird backstabby kind of thing or thing like that. But it was definitely like, oh, all of these people are also like vying for this thing. And so I would say we were there for almost a week.
Oh, wow.
And they, because they were trying to just make sure we were ready. And so we would sing, we would practice with a vocal coach, and they would like give us hints about what we could improve on. And like, we did the sketches together and the same sort of thing. It was pretty cool, actually. It was almost like, if you think about it, like a free workshop in a way, like even if you didn't get into the thing, I mean, we all wanted to, but even if you didn't, it was like a free kind of really intensive workshop for kid actors and singers and dancers. So it was really awesome.
Got you. And so, I mean, you got through that process, and folks who are watching, we got a good amount of people watching us.
Hey, hi.
Here. So please put into the chats if you have any questions for Tasha. Please ask away. So let me ask. So you came on to the Mouse Club, was what, about season 3, I think, right?
Season four.
So what was that like coming in? So I mean, you already had a handful of folks there. Like at that point, the party had kind of gone on to do their thing, but like Lindsay, Jen, Josh. Trying to think of there were a handful of people still there.
Lana was already there. Kevin. Jen, Josh, Lindsay were like the originals that had been there since the very beginning. It was cool. It was a little intimidating, but they did a really great thing where before we even started rehearsing, Disney like had us come to Orlando and meet everyone. And we like literally just like went out to dinner with them, and they, we like went to the park, and we just really got to know the former cast. And I think they were all so friendly and so sweet. And it must have been weird for them because there were 19 new people. Season 4 was a really big change.
Season 4 right here.
Yeah, it was a lot of new people.
There you are.
That's me.
There you are.
Yeah. So in a way, it was kind of strange for them because like the 19 people all knew each other because we had gone to the audition camp, in LA. So a lot of us knew each other already and were kind of friendly. And they were like, they knew each other, obviously, from having been on the show for so long. And so it was this interesting like little mix of groups, but I think overall it went really well, and they did a great job of just, like getting us to know each other in a non-rehearsal setting and just a casual kind of hangout setting at first. And then once we started rehearsing together, we felt like we were like fast friends already. So.
Well, I mean, and you say fast friends, I would even say almost family because, jumping ahead a little bit to the anniversary that they did down at Disney a year and a half ago, I think really one of the big emphasis that they put there, I mean, as much as it was for the fans to see all you guys and meet all you guys, it really was almost a reunion for all of you and your family. Yeah. A lot of you there were now with your your spouses, your children. But a lot of folks also brought their parents, and they did. I think Rocky sang the song,
Yes.
I forget what the song was she sang offhand, but they had the montage of just like all the people that are no longer with us.
Yeah.
That was a really powerful movement. And I mean, certainly for like you guys, you know.
Yeah.
Spent
It was, I mean, so I think there's some like BTS video, like behind the scenes video somewhere floating around. It may have been posted somewhere, I don't know, but it was like the moment that we all first saw each other again, like in this hotel. And it was like Fred, and you know, I hadn't seen Dee Dee in forever, and I hadn't seen my Lynn and Rona and Tony, and like, you know, so, like a lot of people live in LA, so they sort of hang out every now and then. And I've visited LA, and I've seen Mark and Dale and people like that. But there were just that, like, I hadn't seen Nita since I was like 15, you know? There were just certain people that I hadn't seen. And so we all just like screamed, and it must have been insane for the people maybe staying on our floor if there were anybody but us. We were like, you know, it was great. And it was super special just to reconnect with everyone. And like I said before, seeing Fred again and reconnecting with him as an adult and having like super long conversations with him on the bus rides to and fro. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Mm-hmm. And you know, just talking about Fred for a minute too. And I think because him and I had a conversation at like the red carpet at the night at Epcot.
Yeah.
Because I asked all of you guys what were your favorite moments, or what your biggest takeaway was from it, or what MMC means to you. And I know, I forget if he said this on camera or not, but the one thing that he said was, you know, knowing all of you guys as like 15 kids, and now seeing where all of you were as adults now.
No, yeah. That must have been amazing for him. I do remember at one point we were sitting on the bus, and he just looked at me and he's like, "It's so great to like know you as an adult." You know, because literally the last time I had seen him and talked to him was 14, and you're a very different person when you're 14 than when you're 40. And so it was just such a blessing to be able to just sit there with him and like joke with him and, you know, have really interesting conversations with him. And I think he really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed that. I think we all did. He was one of our favorite people, and like sort of a pseudo parent, but not really, like your fun uncle kind of thing, you know, that we got to do amazing stuff with. And so, yeah, that was super special.
And like you and I were talking about before, what a background of entertainment knowledge, you know, experience with him.
So talented. Yeah.
Now, for some of the people watching, and I know any of the diehard Mouseketeer fans probably know some of the answers to this. What was it like, you know, saying 15 years old? So, and you guys ranged probably from what, about 11, 12 years old to about, like, the older kids were like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, in the end, I mean, there were, I think, anywhere between, 11 and 18 is probably exactly the range. Yeah.
So what, and again, looking at this documentary, and I forgot the gentleman's name, what was school like for you guys? I'm a school administrator, so and I've been a teacher for many years, so I know what school's like in normal circumstances for kids who aren't on TV. But for you guys, you had the pressures of, you know, you had to learn all these dances and comedy sketches and, you know, songs, plus regular studies. And I know that was a big emphasis for Disney to make sure you guys got that done. What was that like?
It was great. I honestly really love the kind of learning that we did. I'm one of those people that doesn't do incredibly well in a huge classroom full of like different levels of people. And so we had tutoring, and we would do like 3 to 4 hours of tutoring in the morning. And then we would do our dancing and our singing. And so for me, who's a little ADHD, I loved it. I preferred it. I think I learned more that way. We had amazing teachers. We had amazing tutors. They were, you know, focused on us and just allowing us to learn at our own pace, and also pushing us to learn different things that we may not have learned in a larger classroom. And so I personally really enjoyed the structure of what we did. And of course, you know, when you're 13, you're only in the classroom for 3 to 4 hours a day versus 7 or 8. It's much more preferable. And then you get to go and sing and dance and do sketches the rest of the day. I mean, I feel pretty lucky.
Now, let me ask, like, how did that work? So again, I remember I never got to see the Mouse Club live when I traveled to Disney with my family.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's one time we were on the tour and we got to see the set. My sister and I were like, oh, we know that. We saw it because we saw you guys. We didn't see you guys, but we saw the set. So that was a bit of excitement. So obviously you guys taped primarily over the summer. But it was about probably a 6-month process, right? So you would essentially close out your school year and begin your school year there. How did that work?
Exactly. Yeah. So we started in I think one of the earliest years we were there in April. So, school went through to end of May. So it was a couple of months, and then we would have a couple of months of no school. And then sometimes we would go to I think September or October. So it was always an interesting transition because you would end one school year and then have the summer and then begin the new school year. And for most of us who weren't staying and living in Orlando, we went back to our hometowns. So I went back to Indiana for the remainder of my 7th grade and the remainder of my 8th grade. And that was weird. Because you're so used to this certain style of learning and being with these other people, and then you go back to the normal school setting, and all of your friends think you're strange because you got out of gym class for 2 months, even though you're singing and dancing your butt off, they don't count that, and so it was an interesting transition to go back to normal school after being in the tutoring thing.
And I mean, what was it like? I mean, the show was popular, ran for 7 seasons.
Yeah.
So you were on there from 4 to 7.
Mm-hmm. No, 4 to 5. 4 and 5.
Oh, 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
You're on there. There's so many of the episodes. But
I know.
What was it like to come back to school?
It was weird.
And people are like, hey, they got their Disney Channel magazines with this picture on there, and they're like, oh, she's in my class.
Yeah, it was weird. It was, most people were really nice, and I had my core group of friends, but there were some people, people can get strange about that. And they would just pretend that I was acting weird, and I wasn't. I was just acting normal, but because I was I'd done this thing, they sort of foist this certain personality onto me that I didn't feel like I had. I was a pretty shy kid, weirdly. Even now, I'm a performer, but I'm not a super extrovert, and I think I was like that then. And so they expected me to be hey, and I wasn't. I was oh, we're in English class now, and I'm going to read my Shakespeare, and they just thought that was strange because they thought I was going to be singing and dancing down the hallways. And when I wasn't, they were sort of what? What's happening, So it was a really strange thing. And I think a lot of us decided to stay and go to Dr. Phillips High School. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a performing arts high school in Orlando, Florida.
And that's where you guys knew Joey Fatone and a bunch of those.
Yeah, Joey went to there. Eric Garbus, who a lot of people know. Fonzie Rodriguez, who's Luis Fonzi, who became a Latin pop star. A lot of amazing, talented people. But my Lynn went there. I went there. JC went there for a while. Many of us decided to go to high school there because it was conducive to our already performing arts lifestyles versus going back to some random high school in Indiana.
Yeah. Well, now talking about what a change in growing up around places too. So you spent some time there on the parks. What was it like pretty much living in Disney World for 6 months?
Yeah, that was amazing. We used to go through the back door, MGM, and go ride the rides and then come back. And obviously, if there were people there that knew us, that was kind of funny. And we'd sign autographs and stuff. But, at the same time, we were just kids. So we were we're just going to ride the rides.
Were you guys saying, hey, we're going to go wander the park? Or they say, guys, go take a wander in the park? Or were you guys sneaking away?
Kind of a little both. There were times when we had specified breaks, and they probably didn't want us to go to the parks, but sometimes we would sneak out and go to the parks. And I also I had this silver pass that I used to bring my family and friends when they would come visit me to the parks. So that was pretty cool because we would get a discount at the stores, and they got in free to the parks. And so they just thought I was really cool. And it's like a power. I was like, look, I can get you into the parks for free. No, it was very cool. I feel super spoiled that was my childhood.
No, I mean that is like a dream outside of being on television, like being at Disney World. Now, you said like you would sign autographs. Were there ever times like people would recognize, oh wow, those are some of the Mouseketeers, and like it almost became like a little bit of a mob scene, and you guys like maybe somebody had to come in and pull you guys away?
It never was, honestly, because we would usually go out in like 2 or 3 of us. So it wasn't like the entire, thing. And we would have a few people stop us here and there, but I don't think everyone watched it. So it wasn't like being on prime time, like I can imagine someone who was in Who's the Boss, or, the 80s and 90s, like primetime things, like a little bit more recognition if you have NBC, ABC. And so there was a little bit of that, but it never became a mob scene, which I'm grateful for.
and I mean, also at that point in time, people didn't have their cell phones and social media.
That is true too. I'm so grateful for that. Oh my, I could not be a child actor in these day and age, because you can never like get away from it. You're just constantly on, and people are videoing you. And yeah, that was not a thing. If people were videoing us, they were videoing us with their big, like giant, camcorder.
Exactly.
You could tell, like.
And you're on somebody's home movie somewhere.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see if those turn up at all anytime soon.
And now just talking about relevance and things with the Mickey Mouse Club. There's one episode that I was just thinking about today. So I was just having a conversation, and it's episode 100, and you were in episode.
Yeah.
With Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that today, and I was like, wow, that was. I mean, it was a powerful episode then, but like and I know I have tapes of these somewhere. I was almost kind of tempted to take a look at that again, because a lot of what you guys were talking about in that are really relevant to.
You should watch it again, because someone sent it to me the other day, and I watched it again, and I was like, oh my God, we were so ahead of our time, but not really, because it was an issue then as well. And as someone who really, really, really loved still loves social justice and those relevant topics of today, like I was so floored by that episode. I've learned so much, and I loved that we did that and talked to people about, the rainbow. I think it was like the rainbow coalition or something like that. And just about like having dialogue around racial tension and talking to people and like really getting to know people who are different backgrounds than you. And oh man, I think at 13, that really, it meant a lot, and I think it stuck with me. And so I'm grateful for that, because it wasn't just entertainment. It was like really relevant and important and educational, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, and I mean, again, also being on that show too with Jesse Jackson, who
oh man, amazing.
And definitely an interesting like you'd think, oh, it's the 100th episode of the Mickey Mouse Club, we're going to do something long and silly, and to really tackle such. Yeah. Take that momentous occasion to really tackle such a serious issues, like you said, definitely ahead of their time. Your time. So the season's ended on the Mickey Mouse Club. What did you do after the show?
Yeah. Oh, so like after season 5 or after season?
Well, after season 5, once you had, left the Mouse Club.
Yeah. So I originally stayed in Orlando to go to high school at Dr. Phillips, and I did a couple of shows there at the Performing Arts High School. But then my mom and I decided to give a little LA a little shot, and so we moved to LA when I was 15 and a half, or maybe 16, I can't remember now, and we lived in Burbank for 4 months, I think. 4 months. And we did all the auditions and lots of callbacks. And I think I did 1 commercial or 2, possibly. And then I just realized that I missed Orlando, and I missed my friends, and I missed the Performing Arts High School. I'm a big theater fan. I love theater more than everything else. I love theater. I love live theater. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to go back, and she, strangely enough, let me, because I think about it now and I'm like, why would you do that? But she let me. She let me go back, and I lived with a friend, and I went to Dr. Phillips High School for 2.5 years and did performing arts there. Wow. And then I ended up going back for personal and family reasons my senior year of high school to go back to Indiana to live, to graduate there.
So that's really good. So then even you got to go back and still be around a lot of those folks that you were with when you were on.
Exactly. Jen and I did shows together. I got to meet Joey, obviously, and do shows and stuff with him. So yeah, I was really, really happy that I got to do that because I met some of my lifelong friends during those couple of years.
And, thinking about Florida time too, there was another show that I remember you had a couple of appearances on. Welcome Back.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Phillips is literally right across the street from Universal Studios. So like we could go and, after school and audition for Clarissa Explains It All and All That, and Welcome Freshmen and all the Nickelodeon shows. So not only was there Disney to audition and do stuff with, but Nickelodeon was a really big thing. So we spent a lot of time auditioning for those shows too.
Because I think Nickelodeon kind of saw. It's interesting because I know Nickelodeon had their shows, and then Disney had they had you guys, and they had Kids Incorporated around prior to Disney Channel, anyways. And it was interesting because you could kind of see where they were trying to come up with similar things,
right? Yeah. Well, I remember someone reminded me of this. Do you remember the show Roundhouse?
Yes.
So we went and for some reason they let us into their we got to go and hang out in their audience for a show. So the whole Mouse Club, or I guess not all of us, but a lot of us went and saw a Roundhouse show. Oh, wow. And I was watching it again, and I was like, this was a pretty amazing show too, really interesting and diverse, and just had some cool topics that they talked about. So Nickelodeon and Disney both did more than we think, back then, and had a lot of cool, youth-oriented shows.
Yeah. It was definitely an interesting time for television. It was. And certainly both for you guys at the Disney MGM studios and the folks over at the Nickelodeon studios, you guys were also part of the attraction too, really.
Yeah.
Because I would guess most of the people in the studio audience were people who lived in the Florida area, but also people who were there. There's oh, cool, they're taping Mouse Club today. So
I think you would have to ask the fans that, because I know a lot of people that a lot of our Dr. Phillips classmates came to numerous shows. Friends today, Kristen and Kelly, and they know who they are. And just they would come and support us, and it was really cool. But then I think people who were on vacation and they were there with their families, and they'd be like, oh, there's a taping, and they would go to 2 or 3 tapings. And that was a really cool thing for them. So we enjoyed it because, man, having a live studio audience is so different. It just brings up, it's like live theater. I mean, to me, it's that was like live theater because you were singing and dancing in front of people. It would be re-recorded over and over and over again, but it was that was important. Very important. And I'm again, like you said, over and over again, seeing that energy, when you guys would come crashing through the doors, Yes.
Nuts. You guys were there.
Crazy.
And I could only even imagine at the end, you guys did the end song, and then it's just the mob, just
oh my God, so fun. Yeah, so fun. Yep.
Do you have any really interesting stories or memories from maybe something funny happened with any of the studio audience people? Because
well, sometimes that mob at the end, people would come in and it would be so fun, but we wouldn't be coordinated in any way. So there'd be a lot of crashing into each other, but I think there were many cameras. So they could they edited those ending sequences, but they would, there would be times when someone would fall, or we would crash into each other, or one of the guys would try to climb on the bar, that we had there, and they would fall off, or something would happen. And so there was a lot of chaos. That's a really good word when you said it. It was just a sort of chaotic mob at times, but they always caught the good moments somehow.
I can only imagine too. Were there people from Disney who would if they saw somebody climbing up on the bar, be no, gotta get down from there.
Yeah, there would be times when we get oh, maybe tomorrow don't do that.
Oh, no, I'm not even saying for you guys, when the audience came down.
Oh, when the audience, yeah. Well, there were what's called, interestingly, wranglers, and it's both the wranglers of us and the wranglers of the audience, the people that have to sort of tell you okay, you're going to be here, and then you're going to go here, and this is what's going to happen, and they would try to create order to the chaos, but it didn't always work because it's kids. I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, teenagers, knowing teenagers from my job, teenagers being teenagers, I can only imagine, like, you and I were talking a little bit about some of the fandom of the Mouse Club. Like, I'm sure that there are probably even instances people in the studio audience were like, hey, you know what, I'm going to go up and see Tasha, or hey, I'm going to go up and see Damon, maybe slip of my number kind of thing,
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You and everybody else, right?
You can't control a bunch of teenagers with a bunch of hormones, with a bunch of ego going everywhere. Not all the time. Nope.
When we're all going down there, that's who I'm dancing next to.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, It must have been wild. So
like a prom every day, prom.
With limited chaperones.
Right, exactly.
Chaperones. So now let's talk a little bit about this reunion thing, because the reunion that they did a year and a half ago, I mean, we were talking a little bit before. I mean, truly once in a lifetime, unbelievable experience. What was that like for you when first, when Dale and Chasen said, hey, we're doing this reunion, Tasha, you want to come? What did you say?
Well, I originally thought that it was going to be like just this small little gathering of like us and maybe a few people and, getting together and like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. And then as they brought it into this level that just became so amazing and also kind of intense. I don't think any of us expected like the amount of people that were there, the amount, like the beautiful performances at Epcot, like being able to do the fireworks and having the live band and the after party, and just the production level that they brought was so beyond anything that I anticipated when I said, yeah, sure. Because I was literally just thinking like, yeah, let's fly to Orlando, we'll hang out and whatever, maybe we'll sing a song, sure. And then they just kept coming up with like, oh, and then we're going to do this. Do you want to do this? And this is autograph session. I was like, oh yeah, sure. Again, literally thinking it just going to be like a few people asking for an autograph. And I think it just took it to the next level when it became a part of the MegaCon, because obviously, there were people there that I don't even think really knew much about the club. There were our awesome fans that have been with us for forever, 30 years. But then there were people who were like, huh, what's this? And they just like stopped by and got the autographs. So I think that level of people just blending in with the tried and true fans was, it was interesting.
No,
I mean, it was awesome, though.
Like you said, like definitely as someone who does do the conventions, like, it's like, oh, there's a free signing, because you guys were essentially a free signing. And as I closed off room, and like you guys were mobbed in there.
Yeah. But then there were the people who, like, we knew that there was a different energy. Yay! Oh, good. This and all, and I didn't even bring half the stuff down. But again, here's what an amazing like yearbook. Yeah,
was they put together. My God.
Yeah, totally amazing. Again, like so beyond whatever we originally anticipated. They were just like, they took it to the next level, and this is what they do. They're just incredible. They're just incredible people. You take a little small idea and you're like, oh, what about this? And they're like, okay, and they just go.
Well, and that's the thing. Who would have even thought that, like, And it's funny, you and I were talking earlier, like I was a fan of the Mickey Mouse Club, and I was like, oh, when I was like, 16, 17 years old, thinking about like my creative aspirations, part of me was like, you know what, it'd be great one day to like, because I was at the time that, they was big on like reunion movies and stuff, like Gilligan's Island Reunion and like Ain't It Enough for You, all these like stupid shows. And I was like, what, wouldn't it be cool, like when I'm an adult, if I could, again, I wanted to be a television person. Wouldn't it be great if I could do like a Mickey Mouse Club reunion one day, And then like,
yeah, see,
they pulled it off, and I was like, wow, somebody must have been in my head.
Seriously, yeah, it was great, and like I was saying before, just seeing everybody that I hadn't seen in forever, and getting to experience that, and meeting some of the fans that I, didn't really meet in person before because they didn't be able to come. Just like hearing the stories of what the show meant to people was really amazing too, because I never really knew that. Like I just, again, thought it was like, oh, it's an entertaining thing. People, like, it really, really meant a lot to them for many, many different reasons. So that was pretty special to hear those stories.
And it really still does too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Now let me ask, while you guys were maneuvering around MegaCon and all that, did you have any cool like celebrity experiences? Like you got to, because I mean they had a ton of people at MegaCon too.
Oh my God, I wish we didn't have time to see anyone. It was
you guys were on the move anyway.
We literally had no time to do anything. It was crazy. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like the biggest celebrity we probably saw was Joey, which, you know, I went to high school with him, so he's just Joey to me. But I wish I saw, like, you know, the later on I saw and I was like, oh, I wish I could have done that. I wish I could have seen that. And it's like, no, next time if I ever do one of those, I'm going to have to go as a participant.
There you go. You know, you can probably go to a smaller one, do the autograph sessions, and then walk around and get to meet people.
That's a good idea.
But you know, I was gonna say, thinking about like you guys like constantly on the go. Like I remember they had that that VIP session in the morning. You know, everybody was lined up for that.
Yeah.
And like I remember then, like at the end, like because you guys had to then go to the panel, and then you had like what 10 minutes, and like you guys were like scarfing down your food because you didn't even get to eat yet. I mean, they had beautiful spread of food out there.
Yeah. I feel like I lost a lot of weight that weekend because I didn't eat and I didn't sleep. I literally, like, I've never gone that long without sleeping before. It was so insane. It was definitely worth it, but I don't think that's like a sustainable thing. And I couldn't live like that every weekend. I would be dead.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. And again, I do some cons, and you know, like being on the move like that, it's fun, but like you said, the toll.
It's exhausting. You need like a vacation afterwards. You need to like go sleep for 4 days. Yeah.
So, you know, we're sitting here and then talking about this whole fan base, you know, which is the perfect segue. And if you guys look on the bottom here, that we have the link for the Indiegogo. So we have why? Because it's Christmas. So tell us what's going on with that, because the Mouse Club is not going away.
No, it's not. Well, so after the amazing reunion, like seeing everybody and just being reminded of how talented everyone is, it was like November, I think, and I play piano, and so I was playing some Christmas favorites. I love Christmas music. I always have. And so my husband kind of looks at me and he's like, just offhandedly kind of went, you know, you guys should do a Christmas album. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And he's like, it would be fun to do a Christmas album. And I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Like, what a great idea. So everyone says that it was my idea. I have to give credit to my husband for planting that seed, because I you know, I love Christmas music, but it didn't occur to me that we should all do a Christmas album.
His name will be in the notes, right? On the CD, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll make sure of that. He also helped me record the song. So yeah. So I just kind of offhandedly wrote an email to everyone, and they were very into the idea. And they were like, yeah. And of course, you know, what about the details? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know the details. But then Tony and Dale and Chase and Jeff, who's Jen's husband, and Lisa Canada, who's always in the club, producer, she's been with us for a while, just took off and like had all these amazing meetings and came up with the details, like hammered out the details, which we all know are very important. And so they came to me, and they, like, I think like 4 or 5 months later, and just said, yeah, we're going to do this. And of course, by this time the pandemic had happened, and I was like, how? You know, because I thought we were all going to get together in LA or Nashville or wherever and like get in a studio together and sing. And obviously that was not going to happen. So we did it kind of in our own separate things. Like some people went to a studio in LA, and some people went to studios in Nashville. And some of us literally just did it in our closets at home, like eating shows and wonderful videos. And it's amazing. I've heard like just little snippets of it, and obviously it's not mixed or mastered yet, but just the little rough edits that I've heard have been really freaking incredible. So if that's any indication of what it's going to be, you're in for a treat. It's really awesome. Yeah.
Now, let me ask. So like you said, you guys were all recording in different places. Are they solo songs, or are you guys doing them as groups?
Some of them are. Yeah, so it's a mix. We've got some solo songs. We've got a group number. We've got a couple of duets. It's kind of like it was on the club. You know, sometimes there was one person that would sing and others would do backup, and then there was the big group numbers that we did at the end of each season. And so it's a little bit of everything. It's pretty special. It's seriously pretty special. And you all know how like amazingly talented everyone is. So just imagine all of that talent on one Christmas album.
Mhm.
Wow.
I assume pretty much everybody that was at the event are involved in it, or?
Yeah, for the most part. I think Mark decided to do the album art. So he's doing all the album art for us, which he likes to do. So that was amazing. And I believe, yeah, pretty much everyone that was at the reunion is a part of it.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah.
Are you able to say what you're singing yet, or is that?
I'm not going to give that away.
I know there might be people wanting to know because it's funny and again, folks, if you want to participate, I mean I don't even want to say sponsor at this point now because within like what 2 days it was so you're still sponsoring it, but you're just making more love come to it.
Yeah, and I do want to remind people that the money that we're raising, like a portion of the proceeds, like we have to cover costs and things like that. But once that's done, we're giving money to 2 amazing charities. So if you look at the link, it'll tell you more detail about those. But we're helping people, healthcare workers who have dealt with COVID, which is obviously a big thing, and then music artists who are also dealing with COVID and also helping keep music in schools, which for those of us who grew up with music in our school, we know how important that is. So 2 really awesome causes that your money will help support, and also getting really cool perks. So
we'll talk. Well, a perfect segue. So one of the perks that you have, because let's talk about Blurt now. So tell us what the perk is that people can get from you, and then we'll go into that.
Well, there's a few. I mean, I'll do a shout out video to you. I have some property called Finnan. So I'll go out into the woods and do some shout out videos to you. We can do a Zoom session. That's one. We're all doing like signed Christmas cards, holiday cards, either for you or family members or friends. And then Blurt, who is my husband's band. They've been around for 20 years. Oh, wow. So this is a band that's been around for 20 years. They were in San Francisco. They sort of got back together and they were like, we need a female vocalist. And I was like, hello. So I joined their new album and we're releasing a limited 5-song EP, which is a perk. So you will get the 5-song EP signed by me. And it's pretty cool because you'll get a sneak peek of the full album, which is not going to be out until later this year. So it's a pretty special thing. And it's very relevant. I always tell people, like, I have my Disney and my happy and my joy, and then I have my like angsty side, and this is the angsty side. So if you need a little like 90s alternative, think, Sonic Youth, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden kind of action, this is for you.
And I mean, and what a great like perk to get, so you're getting an autograph, you can get the shout out, and everybody gets like the discount to the album.
Yes, and every perk includes the discount to the album. And the reason people have asked us a lot, like, why can't you give it away for free as a perk, like a lot of fundraising does, and it's because SoundScan, who does like the Billboard chart sort of stuff, won't allow that. So we couldn't be on the charts if we gave the album away for free. So we have to charge like the minimum amount, which is what we're doing with the discount. Yeah. So because we want to be on the charts, Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm going to take a stab and say that this is probably the beginning of much more to come.
Yeah, I hope so. It's great.
And especially, like you said, if it gets up on the charts there, people are going to want to know that. And again, knowing some of the guys behind this, they're going to be pushing this out to radio stations and stuff.
They don't go small, you know what I mean? Like they don't, which we all appreciate. It's pretty special to be a part of such a talented and hardworking, I will say, group of people, especially on the production side. It's very, very, very important.
And in that same token, like there were people that were on the Mickey Mouse Club, who really like kind of like went out there and were became like phenomenons. But I mean, for everybody else too, you guys are such a bevy of talent and of greatness. And for anybody that did attend the reunion and watching the old shows, but certainly being at the reunion and seeing you guys up there live on stage,
for sure.
Like my God, like what a group of people, and hopefully once all this COVID thing goes away and the world does restart into whatever its new normal is.
Yeah.
Like leaving there that night, I was like, this is a show that they could take on the road. Not even just doing conventions, like, playing like different music halls or venues and stuff like tonight, always in the call. I don't know if you guys can call MMC or whatever, always in the club, but like, and however many of you can be there to do that, like just travel through the city would be amazing.
Well, I really hope whatever our new normal is, that it includes live music, because that's, live music, live performance, just so important to so many people, not just on the performance sides, but the fans and the people who enjoy music. And that's the thing I miss the most, is live music, live performance, live theater, just supporting performing artists. And I miss it so much. So that would be amazing. I really think all of us are going to be very chomping at the bit to get out there again and sing in front of people and dance in front of people and entertain and enjoy that give and take, of the fans and the people on stage, and just, it's so important. It's so amazing.
Like you're saying, you love theater, and I'm here in New York. I'm about an hour or so from the city, and like I just think about like what's going to happen to Broadway.
I know it's going to have to restart in a very small way, but I hope it restarts, because
it will.
Yeah.
Well, it
will. It has to. It's been like, art and music and stuff has been around forever. And so it's not going to go anywhere. It just might look different for a while. But we'll all be very excited when it does. And we'll be like, tickets, like immediately.
Absolutely. Mentioning art and this whole pandemic thing and just everything else going on in the world. And I'll ask you, and obviously your husband too, is there. As artists, how has the pandemic and all the other things going on in the world, how has that inspired you? Because certainly being home, really having the time to think and be creative, we're going to get some amazing things. What have you guys?
Yeah, I would say that it's, it's good and it's bad. I was supposed to be in a show this summer. I was supposed to be in Crazy for You, and obviously that got canceled. So that was a big bummer. But at the same time, like, we never really had the time to record. And Neil got a really big burst of creative energy and lyrics and creating music. And I feel like just like having the time and being at home and, not having social engagements constantly gives you that sort of energy, and it's not exactly the way we wanted it to be, but it became something different. So we were able to transform it into, recording music in our closet, whatever that means. And so our big eventual goal is to like get this out there, and then once we're able to go back to recording studios and rehearse again in person, that we take the music that we created during this and transform it into that like normal way of rehearsing and being in the world. So it definitely was a creative impetus in a lot of ways, for sure.
Difficult for many people, but inspiring.
Yes, exactly. There's two sides of the coin, for sure. I think a lot of people have felt this. Like, I know Tony's been doing a lot of his home, people like can live streams, the request live streams that he does this like twice a week. And so he's really kept up with it. And I think probably exposed his music to a lot more people who may not have been exposed to it before, because they couldn't go see a show, or they couldn't afford to go see a show, but they're able to like kick $5 to his, Venmo or whatever it is, and see him play in his home. And it's definitely got its pluses and its minuses. Yeah.
Absolutely. Before we get wrapping up here, I put a couple of questions here, a couple of comments. We have Debbie David. She says she can't.
Oh, yay! That's exciking. So, I'm excited for you to hear it.
And again, like that was a huge surprise for all of us.
Yes.
And then we have I don't want to mess up his name, Sergey. He just wants to know if you met any voice actors who worked in Disney and Nickelodeon during your time down there. Any of the people?
Voice actors.
Well, Fred, obviously.
Well, yeah. I would say Mark. Well, and Fred, yeah, like Fred does he did the sound effects stuff for Prairie Home Companion. He did it Between the Lions. He's done a million things. He was one of the best voice actors I've ever met in my life. Mark also does a lot of voiceovers and stuff for like video games, and he's done cartoons.
I think he was Iron Man in a couple of cartoons.
Yeah, he was. And Dee Dee does the Stephen Colbert stuff.
Right.
So I mean, like a lot of people have done stuff since then. But as far as anyone outside of Disney and Nickelodeon, probably, but I don't remember.
We were talking about Jesse Jackson during your time on the Mickey Mouse Club. Outside of Jesse Jackson, and even if it wasn't somebody that that was on the show itself, because I mean, a lot of people came through the Disney studios. Were there any really like great people that you were excited to meet that came through there? Even Disney legends and stuff.
Disney legends. I just loved all the musical artists, like even the old 90s ones that you don't really hear much of anymore. But like TLC was on our show, and Tracy Spencer was on our show, and just some really talented R&B and pop and just incredible artists. And so I just really, because I love music so much, and that's like my favorite probably thing about the entire show is the singing and the music. I just really loved, and we got to like ask them questions afterwards. You didn't always see all the questions because we would like sit there and talk to them for an hour, and the editors would be like, okay, we're gonna have to cut this down to like 3 questions. But like just to sit there and interview your musical idols, and just all the music artists that came through were so impressive, so awesome.
Got you. And then one other question here on my other the watch party that we have going on there. Yeah. What's some advice you could give to young people or even parents at this point who have a child that might be interested in becoming a singer, a dancer, an actress? What advice did you give?
My number one piece of advice is to have fun. Because that's so important, because as a young person, especially, it's very easy to get caught up in the, oh my God, I have to be good, and I have to be this, and I have to practice, and I have to rehearse. But that becomes really old if you're not having fun. So find the fun in whatever you're doing first, and then let the discipline come after. It's like, if you love singing, sing silly pop songs first, and then do your scales. If you love dancing, dance like crazy, like no one's watching, and then do your, technical stuff. It's like, you can get caught up in the technical stuff, but if you don't enjoy the vast majority of what you're doing, it's not sustainable. So, yeah.
Nice, cool. Nice. So I think that's it for all of our questions that we've got so far. We got a good amount of people watching, but again, thank you so much for coming tonight.
It was awesome.
Yeah, no, and I mean, everybody who's watching, definitely go and check out the Indiegogo. Why? Because it's Christmas, and get Tasha's what do you call them? Rewards or sponsors?
Perks. I think we're calling them perks.
And you can, and then not only could you get the MMC CD, but you can then get the Blurt CD. So, I mean, like, oh my God, music.
And there's a lot of other good stuff on there too. Jen's and Dee Dee's and Tony's and Lindsay's, and just get it.
Yeah, buy it all. Someone buy it all.
Yeah.
And then certainly go to facebook.com/Blurt to follow Blurt as well.
For sure. We'll be coming out with more later this year. So yeah.
Nice. Cool. So once again, Tasha, thank you for joining us. And for everybody watching, thank you all for joining us. Just quick little hint for next week. We have Fernando Ruiz, who is the artist from Archie Comics and Die Kitty Die. He'll be with us. So if you're a fan of that stuff, it'll be a good time. And we will see you all next time on IncrediChat. Thank you again.